What's up everybody, Matt Maran here with another weekly update. So there's lots of exciting news to go over here this week. We have talks of Lamborghini's new powertrain for the Aventador successor and also some other new Lamborghini news, as well as some interesting reports here about the Hyundai Kona N and what it might possibly have for its future. And so anyway though, I first want to mention that we're going to be doing another live stream here this Sunday at 12 noon Eastern time. Once again, I'm going to try and do weekly live streams here. And so please join if you can. And it's going to be a good time. We had a great time last weekend and I really enjoyed doing these. That's why I'm trying to do them more. So definitely check that out here this Sunday if you can. But anyway, getting into the news here this week. First off, Lamborghini has revealed their Aventador successor's powertrain. So we're going to get the full reveal of the whole car at some point this month. They haven't announced exactly when, but sometime in March here we'll get the info on everything. But now we actually have all the powertrain details, which they revealed ahead of the full reveal. So it'll run a 6.5 liter naturally aspirated V12 still, and they say this engine is all new. On its own, it makes 813 horsepower and 535 pound-feet of torque. That peak power doesn't arrive, by the way, until 9,250 RPM, and the engine has a 9,500 RPM redline, so that's 1,000 RPM higher than the old engine, and so sounds great to me. That is a very high red line, and the higher the red line, the better in my opinion. So anyway, can't wait to hear that thing roar. It's going to be awesome. It also throws out the old single clutch transmission for a new 8-speed dual clutch, and it's now mounted to the back of the engine transversely because it gets rid of the mechanical connection to the front axle here for this new car. This car will still have all-wheel drive, but it now moves the front wheels with 2 electric motors, which also provide torque vectoring. There's a third electric motor that's connected to the transmission as well, so that's how you get all of this extra power. And a 3.8 kilowatt hour battery resides in place of where a transmission tunnel and drive shaft used to be, or usually would be, and so it combines to produce a total of 1,001 horsepower, which I love that they just went one more. Couldn't just do 1,000, had to do 1,001. But I mean, 1,000 horsepower, that's way more than even I was expecting. And yeah, I'm just pretty blown away by that stat. And so no electric range was given, but considering it's only, a tiny little battery there, don't expect more than, a handful of miles out of that battery. It'll mostly be about the performance boost of it, of course. It'll be a plug-in hybrid though, even though it has a small battery. It will in fact be a plug-in hybrid. And yes, looking forward to finding out more about that soon, because that sounds awesome, very, very promising, and so cool to hear that info, at least about the powertrain. Also during this Lamborghini event here, there was a roundtable with journalists where they gave us some info on some other Lamborghinis that are coming as well here. So first up, the Huracan replacement. Road and Track reports that Lamborghini's CEO said at the end of 2024, a completely new Huracan will come to market. They didn't say the Huracan replacement. They actually called it the Huracan, which makes me think we may keep the name, which would be the first time I think ever in Lamborghini history where a new generation didn't get a new name. But we'll see, if he's just referring to that segment or if he's truly saying it's going to be a Huracan again. But anyway, he confirmed it'll also be a plug-in hybrid as well. He didn't reveal anything else, but Motor Trend previously claimed that it'll be switching to a twin-turbo V8 and ditching the V10. We know Lamborghini loves the naturally aspirated engines, at least the V12. I know with the V10 there might be some complications with Audi and stuff, but I really hope they find a way to keep a naturally aspirated V10 in the Huracan. That would really, give it a differentiation over all the other competitors that are doing the twin turbo plug-in hybrid thing, like the McLaren Artura, and even going down to the V6 plug-in hybrid there for the Ferrari. So, it'd be great to see the V10 stick around, but we'll end up having to just wait and see. But it's going to be a little bit of a while to wait for this one, though, because it sounds like we're about a year and a half away, because they're saying, by the end of 2024 is when this new Huracan will be showing up. So we have a while to wait, but in the meantime, we'll be savoring in the awesomeness of this new Aventador successor instead. So good to hear that. Moving on to the Lamborghini Urus news here, the last component here of this whole roundtable discussion that Road and Track was at. They reported that the CEO said, this year and next year we are going to hybridize all of our lineup. The first one is the positioning car, so the real Lamborghini, which I thought was hilarious he said that, but he said the tip of the spear of our lineup. But he actually called it the real Lamborghini and then was like, and by the way, the Urus... So even he agrees. I don't view the Urus as a real Lamborghini, and it sounds like the actual CEO doesn't either, because he says this other thing, not the real Lamborghini, but this other thing will also get hybridized as well. So he said that, and then we'll model the Urus as a hybrid in 2024. Between 2025 and 2027, it seems likely we'll probably just get variants of the Aventador and Huracan replacements to, tide us over until all the other new stuff here comes. But then the CEO said in 28 and 29, we will have our first two BEVs. We will have a fourth model. So today we have three models. It will be the first one to be completely a BEV car in 2028. And then in 2029, we will have the new Urus. And so there's no other info provided beyond that. But the past reports have claimed that the electric car coming in 2028 will be a two-door with 4 seats, but it will have a slightly higher ride height. So think Ferrari Purosangue, but with 2 doors instead of 4. Kind of, I guess, what I'm thinking potentially here. They didn't go so far as to say it'd be a crossover, though. So whether they're doing some type of safari-style thing or what, I don't know. But and that's also was an earlier report. We'll see if that sticks. It sounds like this is obviously still several years away, so that could totally change as far as what they end up doing. And maybe if the Purosangue, ends up being this huge hit, maybe they'll just be like, you know what, let's just, do something else, a little more hardcore than the Urus maybe, or something more unique than the Urus. We'll have to see. But anyway, very interesting to get all that Lamborghini news. And Hyundai just revealed the 2024 Kona recently, just in the past couple of weeks here, but it was just a few shots of the exterior and one picture of the interior, and that's all that we had. Now we get all the information here basically on it for the most part. There's still some details that are left out, but we got a lot more info here on the new Kona here. So first off, in America, we'll only be getting the gas and electric versions. We will not get the hybrid powertrain that the rest of the world will be getting, which is really confusing to me, considering it seems like Hyundai's hybrid are wildly popular. They're, very much in demand, both the regular hybrid and the plug-in hybrids. Why they're missing that opportunity here with the Kona, I don't know, especially since they already have it. Why not just ship it over here? But they're choosing to just do gas and electric for now. And anyway, as far as the redesign, they revealed that all Konas are now 6.9 inches longer on a 2.4 inch longer wheelbase than the old one. And this is mainly because they said the main two complaints people had with their current Konas was that the back seat was too tight and the cargo space was too small. So they went and fixed those two things by just making it longer, basically. So it also has slimmer front seats, so that also carves out a little more rear legroom in addition to the extra length that's been added onto the vehicle as well. So it all should add up to just making it a much more spacious and roomy vehicle overall. And they say the cargo space has gone from 13 cubic feet to 17 cubic feet now. We also get a better look at the interior and some more info on it. The screens are 12.3 inch displays, but as you can see, there's still a good amount of real buttons too, and the company told Car and Driver that Hyundai plans to keep buttons around, which is great. Seems like they weren't going to do that with the new Tucson having all the capacitive touch stuff, but it sounds like they are realizing they need to stick with actual buttons, and that's great to see. It also gets the unique column-mounted gear shifter from the Ioniq 5, which I think is a cool touch. Outside, they all get the big light bar there across the front and the back, which Hyundai calls the Seamless Horizon. And so gas-powered Konas will get gray cladding, other than the N-Line version, which gets painted cladding just like the electric version does. Plus, the N-Line gets an aggressive front end, with the different bumpers and stuff. Powertrain-wise, it looks like on the gas side it'll be carryover, but they won't reveal the specs on those gas versions until the New York Auto Show next month. But it sounds like it's going to have, the same options of the 1.8 liter regular naturally aspirated motor, I believe, and then the 1.6 turbo, or maybe it's a 2 liter naturally aspirated and the 1.6. So it's going to be those same two, probably same horsepower out of those, no changes there probably. But they were happy to provide the specs for the electric version here. It'll continue to be front wheel drive only with a single motor that now does 214 horsepower, which is a little bit more than the Niro EV, so that's a nice little improvement. And it's also paired up with a 65.4 kilowatt hour battery, which is slightly larger than before too, but it'll likely provide similar range to the 258 miles of range of the 2023 version, just because now it's a little bit larger. Sadly, it's still on the old architecture, which means it's going to have a slow 41-minute charge rate from 10% to 80%, which translates to about 75 kilowatts of charging. They didn't say the exact charge speed aside from that, estimate there, but it's just, that's really the biggest downfall of this vehicle. I mean, the Ioniq 5, the Ioniq 6, they take half that time. I think they do that 10 to 80% charge in like 18 minutes versus 41. And yes, this is going to be cheaper most likely than the Ioniq 5. And I just don't know why anyone would go for this over the Ioniq 5. If you actually are doing fast charging, at least, it seems like a no-brainer to spend the extra probably, $7,000 more for the Ioniq, compared to this. But anyway, it's also going to be uncompetitive. Even like we have the Chevy Equinox EV coming. That's going to do at least 150 kilowatt charging, and that's coming here at the end of this year. And, going to have even better range than this and be under 30 grand starting, which will probably undercut whatever they're going to charge for this Kona electric as well. So Hyundai internally seems like they're really excited about the electric version more so than the gas one, but to me, I don't know, this thing just seems like a dud out of the gate personally. Again, we'll have to see how they end up pricing it and what they end up doing, but the charge rate is just an enormous, letdown right off the bat. Anyway, moving on here, the other bummer though about the Kona is about the Kona N. So during this media roundtable that Hyundai's senior vice president did, Motor One is reporting that he said nothing is decided on Kona N at the moment, but then he added that they're considering it and are waiting to see the feedback and market reaction from the market about the Ioniq 5N, which is still yet to be revealed. We've been waiting forever for that. I don't know when that's coming. Supposedly it's going to be on sale before the end of this year, but they haven't even pulled the camo off of it yet, so I don't know. But anyway, he mentioned the electric Ioniq 5N as far as gauging interest, because he said technically it's easier for us to make an N high performance version of the dedicated EV because of the platform. We can bring out the high performance output, but based on the non-dedicated platform with an internal combustion or electric vehicle, we have to look at different options. We also have to fully consider CAFE. It's a difficult situation. The ICE N is not our consideration. Based on the feedback of Ioniq 5N, we'll make a future decision. So he basically just completely shut down any kind of gas-powered Kona N for a new generation. So if you want a awesome little crossover with popping and crackling exhaust, get the current Kona N now while you can. They probably are not going to build them much longer if they're even in production anymore, considering this new Kona's on the horizon and should be coming here later this year. So you have very limited window here to buy a brand new Kona N still, but it sounds like there is not going to be any kind of successor. But that quote, again, I'm on the outside here. I could be clueless, but it really sounds backwards to me. They already have the Elantra N motor, and if the other motors are carryover and those fit from the old Kona, then why doesn't the Kona N motor also not have a chance to carry over? If they all fit with the other motors, why doesn't this motor fit as well? The car got bigger, not smaller. I don't see any reason why the engine bay should have been any smaller. I think they should be able to fit this motor in. And also, they don't have any all-wheel drive variants of this old architecture. And why invest in the old architecture when you know the charging is slow and it's not going to be competitive? So why, put all your chips in that for the N whenever it's outdated tech, it's uncompetitive tech, and they don't have any setup for it, so they'd have to completely re-engineer a new dual motor version of this old platform. And even if they just take another one of those front motors and put it in the back and have over 400 horsepower in this thing, sounds great, except they've never done that before. That's a completely clean sheet. Like, how do you, add that in there? How do you package it? Those are all questions they'd have to have, versus I would assume you can do the same kind of carryover engineering for the gas powered N motor like you have with the other N motor, or the other Kona motors that are carrying over. So to me, it's like it should be the exact opposite of what he's saying. I get the CAFE thing. If you want to just say that it's because of emissions regulations, that's fine, totally understandable, but don't say it's from an engineering standpoint, because to me, again, on the outside, that doesn't add up. Again, I'm sure there's other things that I'm unaware of, but it just seems kind of strange. Obviously, we knew that these gas-powered Ns weren't going to last forever, but they did also commit to doing a next-generation Elantra N that's powered by a gas motor. That was something I covered a few months back, and unless those plans have changed, that's still happening too. So they're still even doing a next-generation motor, investing in that. Why not spread out that investment with another car, with the Kona N, once again, which we know probably fits the motor and would be, a better seller than a slow-charging EV with over 400 horsepower. It'd be fun, but, they have the Ioniq 5N for people that want a fast electric hot hatch, so... Anyway, minor little rant there, but reading that, I was like, what? Like, what are they talking about here? But anyway, that's the report. Those are the quotes. And so... Anyway, just get your gas-powered Kona Ns while you can, because it sounds like the window is closing there on that, unfortunately, but... I guess the silver lining is there's still an option potentially where we'll see some type of Kona N someday, even if it is electric and possibly uncompetitive. But, interesting to hear nonetheless. We also have some mixed news here about the BMW Z4 this week, thanks to two reports by BMW blog. So first, they asked BMW's head of the Z4 project about the idea of a Z4M, and he revealed that the BMW team researched the idea and they were considering it, but it was ultimately decided that it wouldn't make sense from a financial standpoint, so the project was never approved. And this makes sense. Obviously the Z4 is fighting for its life in general right now. It's very low sales. The only reason why it's even around is because Toyota approached them and wanted to pair up for this partnership. Otherwise, we would have never even seen this generation of Z4. So, doing an M version spreads that, niche even thinner, and, just would be too hard. So, I mean, there's no mystery there. To me, makes total sense why there's no M version, even though it would be a ton of fun, in a smaller, shorter wheelbase. It just doesn't seem like it's something that's realistic. But for the good Z4 news, BMW blog has another report here claiming that they learned through sources and confirmed by other industry insiders that BMW was always planning to debut a manual version of the 6-cylinder Z4 here for the 2024 model year, and that those plans are still on track. So they didn't say when we should be seeing that, but I mean, everyone's already bringing out their 2024 stuff already, so I'm guessing in the very near future, BMW will hopefully, if this report is accurate, will hopefully have an announcement for us about some type of, manual. And there's a couple of different ways they could play it. They could potentially just take the one out of the Supra. Toyota says they engineered that themselves. We'll see. I'm sure BMW could potentially just take that as well. So it could either be that, or they could take the one out of the M3. I'm not sure how much those two manuals share, but maybe they're the same, maybe they're different, but they have that other manual there with the M3 setup as well. So we'll see what happens, with all this, but that at least would be great news. And I mean, the manual isn't perfect in the Supra, but it certainly is a great new option to have and a lot of fun. And so it'd be great to see that carry over into the Z4 as well. But so good to hear that, a little bit of good news there. And one future vehicle that we do now have a debut date for, thankfully, is the long wheelbase version of the Volkswagen ID Buzz, which, it's been like pushed off and delayed forever and ever. But now we finally know the one coming to America will be arriving or debuting here in June, Car and Driver has learned. And will actually arrive for the 2024 model year. I previously heard they're saying 2024 in general, but it sounds like the actual 2024 model year, possibly by the end of this year, we'll actually see it. So a little bit ahead of schedule maybe. Volkswagen also told them that it'll be getting a bigger battery than the 77 kilowatt hour battery that's in the short wheelbase Buzz. And so that's promising. They didn't say how much bigger, but in America, bigger is always better. The more range, the better for Americans. So, hopefully they pack it in as much as they can there. What will carry over, though, are the motors. It'll still run a 201 horsepower rear-wheel drive base setup with a single motor there, and then the dual motor setup will do 295 horsepower and have that all-wheel drive. And so, anyway, very exciting to see that it's getting close here, and I'm also very thankful. It looks the same. It's just, longer wheelbase, and that's it. It's still all the same Volkswagen ID Buzz charm. So great to see that that's imminent here. Another retro EV that's right around the corner is the next generation Mini Cooper. So the head of Mini spoke with Autocar in the UK about the next generation. There's also some mixed news here as well. First, the gas models will continue and they'll still be built in Oxford in England there. But unfortunately, Mini says they're 99% sure that they won't offer it with a manual transmission, which is really a bummer, and also another very confusing quote, because Mini literally just started a manual driving school last year. They're a huge supporter of the manual. They've offered it in, a lot of the Coopers. I know they phased it out of some of the other models, but the Coopers have had it. I feel like it's been a pretty good take rate for the Cooper as well. There's a huge fan base of manual Mini lovers, and yet they're saying 99% sure they're not going to have a manual for the new generation. So it's just like, I don't know if it's just like opposing viewpoints internally that, are causing this mismatch of messages or what. But anyway, despite the fact they're probably getting rid of the manual, the head of Mini internationally says the new Cooper's been taken back to its roots, and that this is a car for Mini lovers. This will be a very iconic car. But I don't think all those manual driving Mini lovers are going to be in love with a Mini that they can't get in a manual transmission. Again, I know it's a small subset probably, but I think, again, the take rate was pretty good in the Mini Coopers and, for the manual. And so you're excluding all those people that really love manuals. And so I don't think they'll think it's an improvement, at least as far as that goes. But, we'll have to see how it all plays out. Anyway, other info about the Cooper here is that it'll be staying the same length as the current car, and it'll get a wider track, though, with shorter overhangs and a longer wheelbase. So we'll get some heavy changes there, even though the size exterior-wise won't change. The four-door version and the convertible will remain gas-powered only for now, they say. Potentially there'll be an electric convertible down the road, but for now, the only electric one will be the Cooper two-door hardtop, and that's it. And so that's an interesting little spin, because it seemed like with the electric SE that we just had revealed a couple of weeks ago of the current generation, that seemed like a strong hint that they're going to do it for the next gen, but apparently maybe that's a later edition for the next gen. We'll have to see. As far as that electric one though goes, it'll be getting a big range improvement, more than doubling the range from the old car, with Autocar reporting the range will start at 240 miles on the easier WLTP test cycle. So I think right now it's rated at 150 for the old one, and we are only rating it, I think, here in the States with the EPA at like 120 miles of range or something. So it might be around 200 miles of range here when the EPA gets done with it, but apparently they're doing that out of just a 40 kilowatt hour battery, and they also say a 54 kilowatt hour battery will be offered with even more range. But I don't know how they're even getting 200 miles of range out of a 40 kilowatt hour battery. That seems like a lot, unless they have some really impressive technological improvements in the batteries or the motors that we're unaware of. That seems really high out of that size battery. So we'll see about that. The other unfortunate thing about the electric versions is they're going to be built in China due to a partnership with Great Wall Motors. And I don't really care. Lots of things are made in China, but it just takes away a little bit of the British charm of having a British-built little British car that actually now is built in China. Obviously, again, the gas-powered ones will still be built in the UK, but not the electric one, unfortunately. So that's a little bit of a bummer, too. But they say this is the beginning of a new era for Mini, and that they'll have 3 models that will be debuting in the next 12 months. So busy 12 months here for Mini, starting with the Countryman, then the Cooper, and then the Aceman. It's going to be a little ways off for some of those, but at least the reveals will be happening here in the next 12 months. And so they only showed all 3 in camo so far, so we're still waiting, for the first reveal, but they should be coming fairly soon. And interesting choices there, from Mini, but hopefully it works well for them and helps to have them help them to have a strong future, because I do love Mini as a brand. I think they're awesome. I've always loved Coopers, even though the reliability wasn't always the best in the past, but I'm happy to see a new one is inbound here soon. Another evolved classic that we have a new rumor about this week is the Porsche 911, and specifically the GT2 RS version. And so this is another Autocar report here. So they're claiming that their anonymous company insiders say that the new GT2 RS will be the most powerful production Porsche ever. Not a big surprise. They usually, claim that title. But in this one, they're going for over 700 horsepower, thanks to an evolved version of the 911 turbo motor combined with an electric motor and a small battery for the first time. So the first actual hybridized 911 will supposedly be the GT2 RS here. So the electrified tech, they claim, will at least be inspired by the stuff used in the 919 hybrid race car from Le Mans, the one that won Le Mans. Whether it's actually as hardcore as that tech that's actually just transplanted in, or if it's just the learnings from that tech that they do, for this new electrified component, I'm not sure. But that electrification will add weight, though, and the goal supposedly has been reported here. They're going to try and keep the weight under 220 pounds of weight gain for this new GT2 RS. So we'll see if they hit that goal, but also it seems like this vehicle's a ways off. They're claiming it won't arrive until 2026, which really seems like even further off than I was even expecting. But of course, there'll be limited production. They'll probably charge tons and tons of money for them all, but they'll all be sold out and be sold for double anyway. But anyway, that's the info on that. And supposedly after that GT2 RS for the next generation 911, that electrified technology could trickle down to the more, mundane 911s as well. But I think it'll debut here in that GT2 RS. So interesting to hear that. Continuing with the theme of evolved classics here, though, AC Cars revealed their new Cobra called the GT Roadster. This is not the Shelby Cobra. AC is the one who started the whole thing before Carroll Shelby, took it and ran with it. So AC has the rights to do this separate from Shelby. So, and AC Cars is based in the UK, and that'll be important here in a minute. So, while it looks basically the same as the old one at first glance, a closer look reveals the thicker A-pillars there, flush door handles, and a wheelbase that's over 11 inches longer thanks to being on a new aluminum space frame chassis. And so you can see it is, a little bit longer there than the original car and a little less stubby. It's still plenty light, though, weighing just 3,100 pounds still, they say, and despite not being a Shelby, it still runs a Ford 5-liter V8 with a supercharger that does 654 horsepower and 575 pound-feet of torque and a 3.4 second 0 to 60. You can have it with either a 6-speed manual or the 10-speed automatic, so very modern powertrain there, and that's basically straight out of the new Mustang, just with a supercharger. Not sure where they're getting the supercharger from, but you know, it's a modern Mustang powertrain there basically. And the rest of the info will be revealed in April, but as of right now, there's no info on whether they will be sending it to the US even, because this is a British thing, so they're just quoting the pricing here in British terms, and they're also saying they're going to do a European tour with it, but they're not talking anything about America. So don't hold your breath for this thing to make its way to the States. Although it's a small enough company, maybe they could, you know, find a way to, you know, ship a few to people that want to, you know, write a blank check for them. And speaking of those checks, they'll be starting at 285,000 British pounds, and with the current exchange rate here, that's about $342,000 for one of these things. And they say the interior is going to be new and updated, and, you know, have the new lights and all that, but still, that's steep. It's a lot of money, but anyway, interesting to see that. And for the last news story here this week, Japanese magazine Best Car is back with another very interesting rumor here this week. So they claim that an internal source told them that the next generation Nissan Skyline will become an electric SUV. But before you go and, you know, get your pitchforks out, keep in mind the Skyline is separate from the GTR these days. We're not talking about the GTR becoming some type of electric crossover, although that is entirely possible these days as well, considering Corvette's going to be doing that and everybody else. But it's just the Skyline name, which I guess already in Japan had been put on an Infiniti EX30 in the past. So they've already made a Skyline crossover in Japan, so it's already kind of been done, so this isn't quite as, you know, insane as it is, you know, some of the other brands, but that's the rumor. Again, Best Car, you know, some of these rumors are a little out there. We'll see if any of this stuff turns out to be true. But they say that supposedly it'll be based on the Nissan Ariya crossover, and it'll do more power than the Ariya. The Ariya, I think, maxes out like 389 horsepower, so this could do over 400 horsepower. It's kind of the idea there, and I'm guessing it'll be maybe a little bit sportier as well. And a Skyline, though, you know, if you're coming at it from a non-car person perspective, Skyline kind of sounds like an environmental kind of like, you know, electric vehicle name, and kind of makes sense from a marketing standpoint, I guess. You know, we'll have to see, you know, if this again turns out to be true or not, but I can kind of see it happening, unfortunately. You know, it's just the way things are going these days. But anyway, according to the report, it'll be coming in about 2 to 3 years, and that it will actually be sold in America, which I believe is the first time we actually got a Nissan Skyline shipped to the United States new, and not, you know, all the imported ones after the 25-year rule. So anyway, but very interesting to hear that. And lastly, I want to thank all of you that are members of the Maran Motoring Club. So we did have a bunch of new members join this week, thanks to some very generous gifts from 2 other members that gifted memberships to a bunch of other people here. So, and that's also one of the perks of hanging out in the live streams. If you have that gifting on, you could potentially become a member with the first month there being free, paid for by, you know, another member here with these membership giftings that many of you very generous members have been doing in these live streams. So anyway, I want to give a huge thank you to those people for gifting those memberships, but also to the new members here. I want to give a shout out to Sean G, Brensky, the Trucking Car Guy, Andrew, Justin Hemme, Ace of Spades, Angel Silva, Jason Crittenden, Dorian Gray, David White, Simple and Yummy, Jeremy D. TV, Alexander Mills Sr., and Mark Rockwood for all becoming members here this week. I hope you're all enjoying the membership perks so far. I just had the new membership badges I did this week as well. And of course, one of the great perks, in addition to, you know, getting some of the other extra inside info, is that, you know, you always get priority answering in the live streams. And again, I'll be doing another live stream here this Sunday, and, you know, hopefully most weeks here going forward, I'll try and keep doing the live streams there. So definitely another great perk of joining here for anyone that's still on the fence. And if you are on the fence about joining, there's always going to be a link in the description, as well as join buttons here on the video page and the channel page. But thank you all who became members here this week. I really hope you enjoy the membership experience, and I really appreciate the support. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Please also leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to keep these videos coming. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.